In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Adeptus Mechanicus Codex. So today we're going to be taking a look at the army rule. We're going to take a look at each of the detachments briefly. We're going to basically go through the best stratagem and enhancement from each detachment. But we are going to do separate videos on each detachment in depth where we go through the best units and stuff like that for it as well. And then to tie off the video, we're actually going to look at all the changes, aren't we?
We're going to look at all the changes. We're going to look at each data sheet anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll go a bit more in depth with the actual change data sheets because, spoiler alerts, there is quite a few of them.
Yes.
Even if they are just minute.
Yeah.
But before we start, I do have to say a massive thank you to Games Workshop because without them, and you guys as well, we wouldn't be able to be bringing you this video with this amazing preview content. So thank you so much for them. So, Jord.
Yes. Well, if you can tell me what the army rule is.
Well, the army rule is unchanged,
Okay.
but it's still Doctrina Imperatives.
Oh.
So this is a two-part rule. So at the start of every battle round, you
Yeah.
decide if you want to be in the Protector.
Okay.
Protector.
You're right
Imperative.
time,
yeah. Or the Conqueror Imperative.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Protector Imperative, then it means that while you're in your own deployment zone, any attacks that come into you are reduced AP by 1. Just ranged attacks, though, not like melee or anything like that.
Okay, right.
And all of your weapons gain the heavy keyword.
Okay, so if you stand still or remain stationary, you get +1 to hit.
Yeah, so benefiting a very sort of, like Protector Imperative playstyle,
Yep.
sitting there, making sure you're hunkered
Defensive.
up. Yeah, staying in your own deployment zone, doing that. The second part of it, you can choose to be in the Conqueror Imperative.
Okay.
So this is all your weapons gain assault, so the complete opposite. So you can you can advance and shoot your whole army.
Yep.
Equally, you can advance and do special like actions.
Yeah. Teleport homers.
Investigate signals, that sort of thing. And on top of that, if you target an enemy unit in their deployment zone with a ranged attack, you get +1 AP.
Okay.
So already on the surface, we see this as a rule that more benefits. If you go first or second, you can sort of decide, if I'm going to go second, I'll pick the Protector Imperative and I'm going to reduce all your AP by 1. I can be in cover also with other rules as well, which we'll go into.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty solid and you get the heavy.
Yeah.
And the only thing with this is that past that point, you then sort of enter this weird moment of, okay, well, my opponent knows that I've gone Protector Imperative. They know I want to be in my deployment zone. They know that I want to stand still for the extra +1 to hit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure I'm out of line of sight. Then once they've done that, you then have to move, thus making the heavy part of it a bit redundant. And on top of that as well, you have, the other side of it, which is the Conqueror Imperative, which I think is the more obviously strong one.
I was going to say which one is actually your favourite or you think is the strongest.
I think there's an argument for both
easily
because I think that there's some really nasty combos with the Protector Imperative to make your units really tanky.
Yeah.
But I think the Conqueror Imperative has a bit more obviously good because, advancing and shooting your whole army is pretty amazing.
Fantastic, yeah.
On an army that's predominantly ranged.
Yeah.
And on top of that as well, having the extra AP in your opponent's deployment zone, it means that you could build into something like, this indirect sort of game we're seeing.
Yeah.
And taking, which they do have in the form of the Scorpius Disintegrators. You can shoot something, you'll get +1 hit shooting infantry with certain weapons, ignoring the cover because you get the extra AP type of thing. But I think it just depends how you build your army. But overall, I think this is a really good army rule.
Yeah, I agree. I think it looks very strong. Gives you flexibility with your playstyle as well, which is nice.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Any army that allows you to do that is already a big tick in my book.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, mate. Well, next, let's take a look at some of the detachments.
But before we continue, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, The Outpost. If you're looking for great deals on your miniatures, paints and gaming supplies, we've got you covered. Their wide variety of exceptional service makes them the go-to destination for all hobby needs. So don't wait, check out The Outpost today. Link in the description below.
Okay, Jake, so what's the first detachment you want to look at?
So the first detachment, formerly known, the art is formerly known as the Rad Cohort.
Right.
It has now been renamed the Rad Zone Cohort. And boy, it's not just the name that's changed.
Okay.
It's a lot of the rules as well.
So this one was actually quite underwhelming, wasn't it, in the index?
Yeah, speaking from somebody that used it on, the first sort of start of 10th edition, I was really excited for Admech and then sadly got, sort of a bit of a downer because I wasn't really the biggest fan of the detachment and also a lot of the rules. But now, this detachment is actually quite good.
Had a glow up.
It has had a really big glow up.
Okay.
So it still is split into two parts. So the first part is the battle round 1 before the game begins. Your opponent can choose to either be standing firm or taking cover.
Okay.
So if you stand firm, still the same effect. On a 3+, they take D3 mortal wounds. But now it used to be if you took cover, your unit would just be battle shocked for the whole battle round.
Sure.
That is not the case anymore.
Right.
It's still, well, you're still battle shocked, but now it's on a 5-up, they take D3 mortal wounds instead.
So there's actually now a chance that your opponents can take mortals either way. Which is fantastic and probably what he needed, right?
100%. And I think that, you know, the fact that there's a chance there's still mortal wounds, you're not just go, well, I'll just go battle shocked.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. Which is great, right? So I think that's really, really solid. So the second part of it is even better as well.
Sure.
So now it's called the Fallout.
Yep.
So at the start of your command phase, from battle round 2 onwards, you roll a dice for every unit in your opponent's deployment zone, not wholly within, just within. So one little bit of the model being in, you still have to roll. On a 3+, they take 1 mortal wound, and that unit has to take a battle shock check. Whereas before it was they would just take a mortal wound, which isn't that great. But the fact that now in your command phase they could take a battle shock check. If they fail that battle shock check, it means they're OC 0, so it could help you do tactical cards. It means they can't use any stratagems during your turn, so no Armour of Contempt, no Overwatch, no AOC. Well, I've already said AOC. The shootback stratagems that we're seeing. Any fight on deaths, maybe.
Well, I think the most important thing actually with it is when you're taking a look at the failed, you're forcing units to take battle shock that wouldn't normally have to take it. Normally, you'd only take it if you was below half. Yeah. Whereas now you just got to take it on that 3+.
Yeah, which is really solid. So I think overall, like the changes to the detachment rule is super positive.
Very positive. Yeah. I mean, I know that it's still on dice rolls. There's still a chance it could fail. Your opponent could pass a battle shock. Yeah, there are a lot of parameters that you've got to get past, but it's better.
I think before though, the issue that you were facing was that like on a 3+, you take D3 mortal wounds, or you can just choose to not take any.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's a chance.
And battle shock doesn't really affect the first round because you're not scoring points.
No, it can do for maybe alpha strike stratagems, that sort of thing. But ultimately, you're 100% right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the detachment rule definitely a lot better. Cool. Other things that are a bit better is actually the enhancements. So one of the enhancements is now gone from this detachment.
Okay. So the new one is actually called Radical Suffusion.
Yeah, it's a really good enhancement, this. Yeah. And, thank you for also clearing that up for me, because I can't say it.
That's all right.
So this enhancement basically means that from the second battle round onwards, it actually increases the range of the Fallout. So instead of it being your opponent's deployment zone, it's your opponent's deployment zone and everything within 6 inches of it.
So you get an extra 6 inches from their deployment zone, which is actually quite important.
Which on a lot of maps could be nearly half the board.
Well, don't forget turn 2 when your opponent's moving out of their deployment. A lot of the times units aren't having enough to move that full
or even when you look at the missions and stuff, you could go, actually, they have to be on those objectives. They're going to be potentially taking these mortals. Yeah. Which, for a lot of people, it may not seem super relevant, but actually I think is just another level that you're really adding. Another thing that has also changed, all of the names of these have changed, but the one that was formerly known as the Omnissiah is now called the Autoclavic Denunciation.
That's right, mate, yeah.
That one now, instead of giving you +3 shots and anti-infantry 2+ and anti-monster 4+, it now just gives you the anti. It doesn't give you the extra shots.
Okay, sure.
Probably fair, because Mr. Manipulus with that was very powerful.
Yes.
With his +3 shot Dev Wound Flamer. Gone are the days, Mr. Potato Head. You will be missed. Well, you'll be in every list anyway, but just not my Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
I was using it at the start attempt. But yeah, so overall, the other enhancements other than the name changes are the exact same. So
cool. Nice.
Probably the best one, I'd say the art is now known as Perilous Eradication, which gives your unit sustained on their ranged attacks, is probably still the best one.
Fantastic. I mean, this one's always going to be, in every codex, and it's going to be pretty much all-round. All round. This one's going to encompass anything in the codex, so you're going to get good stuff in this one.
100%.
But so we've got obviously 6 stratagems.
Yeah.
What's the best one?
So my favourite one is called the Pre-Calibrated Purge Solution.
Okay.
Which I personally think I deserve a fist bump for.
Honestly, I'm proud of you for that.
But it's in your shooting phase. It's 1 CP. This is a new stratagem. So this has actually replaced Vengeful Fallout.
Okay.
So this is 1 CP. You pick 1 Adeptus Mechanicus unit. And another gimmick in this detachment is if you select a battle line unit with one of these stratagems, you can actually select another Skitarii unit within 6 inches of it to also benefit.
So you're getting more out of your stratagems.
We'll go into which 4 of these do have them, but there are 4 that have this sort of caveat, which is super good. Yeah. Right? And it's 1 CP, and then if you're targeting a unit in your opponent's deployment zone, you can reroll all your hits.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is really great. And again, also builds into that Conqueror protocol type of play, which you may see, because then not only are you getting the extra AP, you can potentially get all the reroll hits as well. Equally, if you don't want to build that Conqueror style for the extra AP and you want to go the heavy style for that turn one, again, you're rerolling all your hits.
Sure.
So I really like this. It's also battle tactic stratagem, so this could be vected and stuff like that. But
Right.
It's still really good. Other things I will note as well, a few changes to some of the stratagems as well. Lethal dosage is now 1 CP, not 2, which gives you lethal hits in your shooting. The aggressor imperative, instead of allowing you to run and charge, now just gives you +6 inches to your advance.
Okay, right. It's a bit...
This is one of the ones you can pick 2 units for, so it's not awful, but like losing run and charge is quite big.
Yeah.
And then the final thing is Baleful Halo's actually gone up to 2 CP.
Right, and that
which
gives
is
you
the
a
-1 to be wounded.
Oh, -1 to be
in
wounded.
combat.
Right.
But it's 2 CP now, but you can select a battle line and another Skitarii unit.
Okay.
Again, if you want to know more of our thoughts as well, I do definitely recommend checking out the detachment videos when they're out.
Yeah.
Because I go into a bit more detail about these there.
Exactly. Awesome. So, on the whole, this detachment has had a glow up.
Really good glow up. I think it's a really solid detachment.
Yeah.
I don't think it outshines some of the other ones
No.
in the book, as we'll quickly go on to. And we cover more of the detachment reviews. But I still think it's a super solid option for anybody that's wanting to play a more all-round sort of play.
Well, I think as well, if you're just getting into Mechanicus, I think this is always a good entry point for a new player getting into the army, right? Okay, Jake. So we've gone through the first one.
Yeah.
What's the next detachment?
So this is our first new one.
Okay.
So this was the one that was previewed when the Adeptus Mechanicus was shown off with their new model. So this is the Skitarii Hunters Cohort.
Yeah.
So the rule for this one is that Skitarii Infantry, Skitarii Mounted, and Iron Strider Ballistari gain stealth.
Okay.
And then if you have the Sakaran keyword, you also get the benefit of cover while you're over 12 inches away. This is because these units already have stealth, so they don't need to have stealth again.
Right, yeah.
Overall, it's very limiting because it requires Skitarii to benefit from this.
Yeah.
But I think it is a good rule to have. You know, if your Skitarii unit's having stealth, for example, your Honor Gadoon Crawlers, your not Honor Gadoon Crawlers, sorry, your Iron Strider Ballastaris, your the Chicken Walkers, your infantry, even the Cerberus Raiders, it just makes them a bit harder to kill, especially if we look at that Conqueror imperative, the Protector imperative for the -1 AP. So now you've got all of those with, -1, ignoring -1, and they're -1 to hit. And potentially, if you take Belisarius Cool, who he still does the same thing, he can give out a cover aura.
Yeah, so you can make your army quite tanky, can't you, from ranged attacks?
Yeah, with this attachment specifically.
Yeah.
But, so that's really good. That is the detachment rule. I don't know what else to say on it. It's not as good as the Marine equivalent of the Vanguard.
No.
But I like how it sort of encompasses the sort of Skitarii aspect. And
I think that's probably going to be, if you are going to compare it to that, or maybe even the Tyrannid one, is the unit selection is different. Obviously, it's going down a specific route of unit selection, isn't it? So even though there's a lot of Skitarii units, they're not the mainstay of the army in terms of like the damage dealing or anything like that. So
they can be in this detachment, but it requires you to very much go down a very like spammy route because you're limited. But naturally, because you're limited, right? It's the same with like a Leagues of Votann army. Leagues of Votann army doesn't have a lot of selection, so naturally you're seeing a lot of the same units. It's the same with this detachment because of the limit on the keyword of what you're getting. You want to get the most bang for your buck, and because of that, you haven't taken a lot of Skitarii.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, what's the best enhancement?
So the best enhancement's a bit of a weird one because it's actually a tie between two of them.
Okay.
So first one's the Veiled Hunter.
Yeah.
So this allows you to redeploy 3 units and you can put them in reserve. So you do this after both players have deployed and you know who's going first, and it's specifically stated on that. That's how it works.
So it's really powerful then, really.
Really powerful. So you know exactly who's going first. You then can go, okay, my infiltrators will come back type of thing. Maybe I'll put my tanks in reserve, that type of thing.
Sure.
So I really like this enhancement. The other one I really like is the Battle Sphere uplink. So this allows you to shoot after you've moved.
Oh, okay, right.
Move after you've shot.
Yes.
Sorry, other way around.
Yeah.
Really solid enhancement there. So the only thing with this detachment is all of the enhancements are limited to Skitarii heroes.
Yeah.
So one of which is the Skitarii Marshal. He can take all of them.
Okay.
Whereas the new Skatros, the new sort of Peter Crouch robot sniper looking model, he can take the other 2.
Okay, sure.
So overall, I think it's okay
Mm-hmm.
with these enhancements, but again, it's very limiting that you can't take these things on like tech priests or anything like that. But yeah, so that's that. So my favourite stratagem and probably the best one is called Isolate and Destroy. So in your shooting phase, you select one Sakaran, Praxeti, Saconian, Iron Strider Ballistari, or Skitarii mounted units. Basically anything that's not infantry or an Onager.
Yeah.
And that unit, you get +1 to wound if there's no enemy units within 6 inches of the unit you're picking as the target.
Oh, okay. Right, sure.
So this is really good for like the flamer sterilizers.
These guys.
Because they could deep strike in, make sure nothing's within 6, shoot something there, which could be quite good. This is also really good on the Iron Strider Ballistaries, with the fact they have, very high strength las cannons.
Yeah.
So you can sort of breach the gap between either force to freeze or freeze to
Yeah,
freeze.
yeah, definitely.
And it's only 1 CP. It's a really good little strat.
Yeah, getting +1 to wound is never something to...
And the other thing I will say is the Skitarii Marshal's rule is he allows you to use any stratagem that's already been used on a different unit on his own unit.
Okay.
But it's not free.
Right,
But
sure.
because of that, it means you're not limited by battle tactics. So
Sure.
in this instance, this is a strategic ploy. So
You
if
could use this twice in one phase.
if he's in any of those units,
Yeah.
which I is all
It's
right.
going to be in this detachment, isn't
Yeah,
it?
because you want to focus that.
Yeah.
But that is really the Skitarii Hunters Cohort.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's an okay detachment.
Yeah.
I just personally, for me, I don't like any detachments that don't benefit a massive amount of models.
Yeah.
Like if we look at Space Marines as an example, Marines benefit every Marine in the.
Or I think even just a bunch of units that are going to do something in the army massively, right? Because what we're looking at here with Skitarii is your Rangers and your Vanguard they're there to control objectives.
They're not your damage
taffy.
dealers.
Exactly. The Chicken Walkers, again, they might have some potential there. But again, you're not getting that massive amount of units that are going to be doing a lot for you, are you?
And I think that's really it, is that, the Iron Striders, the Dragoons, and I'd probably say the Rust Stalkers, Infiltrators, they're probably more your units you're going to be seeing doing something, and the Sterilizers as well. But I do think, though, this detachment's good for having a lot of Skitarii and then taking something like a unit of Breachers.
Yeah.
With a tech priest to just, they won't get any benefits, but they're very much a unit that works very independently.
Yeah.
And they also benefit from having battle line around them. And if you're wanting to build an army with lots of Skitarii in, you're going to have quite a few battle line units.
Yeah,
so
100%.
they'll have plenty of options. So
Perfect.
I think this detachment does benefit from having a good.
It's got played.
You put the big block of the breaches in with your character, and then you take the rest of your army.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
you take the rest of the Skitarii, and maybe you put Belisarius Cool in there as well.
Yeah.
Because I do really like him. Again, we'll go into him in the unit selection, but I do actually quite like him I'd never really liked him before.
Sure.
Now I'm quite a big fan of him because of all these attachments, all these combos. So.
Cool. All right then, nice.
Let's take a moment to appreciate Colourforge, our fantastic sponsor. Their range of spray paints has become our go-to for making our miniatures come to life quickly and efficiently. The quality and variety of colours they offer are truly unmatched, providing a smooth application for stunning effects every time. Check out Colourforge for your next hobby project.
Okay, Jake, so what's the next detachment?
So the next attachment is the Data Psalm Conclave.
Okay.
So not Plasm.
Not Plasm.
This is the detachment that we look at the whole other end of the Adeptus Mechanicus. This actually only benefits the Cult Mechanicus.
So your Electro Priest.
Your Electro Priest, your Breachers, your Tech Priests, sort of anything like that.
Yeah.
So this detachment, at the start of the first battle round, the rule is Benedictions of the Omnissiah. So you start the first battle round, you select one of the benedictions. There's 2 of them to pick from.
Yeah.
There's not 3, there's 2 of them to pick from. So the first one is Panagenic Procession. So this is each time a Cult Mechanicus unit from your army makes a ranged attack.
Yeah.
If the attack's within half range, you get +1 AP.
Okay.
Now, this is really, really solid because, again, if we're looking at comboing it with other rules, you could go Conqueror Imperative and you could just have a first, like a swing up the board type of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Electro Priest attack something. Or even just the Breachers, the Breachers are AP2 with their arc rifles, half range are AP3. When they're in half range, they get rapid fire, so they want to be in half range. So the second one is Citation in Savagery. So this is more of your melee one.
Okay.
So this is each time a Cult Mechanicus unit from your army is selected to fight. If that unit made a charge move, you get +1 strength and attack. So actually the Sons of Sanguinius detachment.
It is.
Thing,
It is.
Just keeping it. So
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
So this is okay. You have got quite a few combat units that are Cult Mechanicum. ironically, both sets of Electro Priests
Yeah.
are shooting and combat respectively.
Sure.
You've got the Breachers have like an arc fist, so
Yep.
they could also be a bit better. But overall, like it's not a detachment that really leaps out at me. The procession is probably the one you'd want to go for in a shooting based army.
I think Mechanicum on the whole are a shooting based army anyway.
Yeah.
So I think getting extra AP when you're and they're quite far range, right? So they've got quite good range. So I think it's definitely a good shout to go for the procession.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next part. So what's the best enhancement?
Now, this is the thing with this detachment, is actually, I'm not going to lie, I'm not actually the biggest fan of any of them.
Okay.
The only one that really does leap out to me is the Data Blessed Auto Sermon.
Yeah.
Auto Sermon. So this one allows you to, once per battle in the start of your command phase, you can select the benediction that's not active for your army.
Okay.
And until the start of your next command phase, you get both benedictions for one unit.
Okay, right.
So this is like okay in, I'd maybe see this in, you have a Manipulus in a unit of the Corpus Scarpia Electro Priests with the Jazz Hands. He gives the unit lethal, they have built-in sustained anyway. They jump out of a Dune Rider and they've got extra AP you can half range, and now they can charge and they're getting like, I think 3 attacks each. It's strength 6.
Yeah.
They've got sustained as well and lethal. They could do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what I would look at. There's also another one called the Mantle, which is for a tech priest, and it changes all damage to 1.
Right.
Which can just be quite nice for let's say your tech priest Dominus, who can be quite integral to a unit of Cataphrons.
Well, they're quite integral to this detachment anyway.
Yeah,
aren't
so
they?
it just helps keep him alive.
Yeah, sure.
But overall, like none of them really leap.
They're not leaping out. They're not exactly like there's no auto includes, auto takes that you have to pick. And maybe just as you said,
I may not even take any if I was running this detachment.
No, there's no need to. If you got some points,
if I've got the points spare, definitely I would be looking at them.
The auto sermon. I think if you're going to go for anything, then why not just double down on your detachment rule?
So my favourite stratagem in this is probably going to be the Litany of the Electromancer.
Okay, what's that?
So this is your shooting phase. You pick one Adeptus Mechanicus unit from your army, and then you roll a dice for every enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit, and on a 5+, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds. If you're picking an Electro Priest unit though, you get +1 to the roll.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is really, really strong actually, because you can have, again, you have a Dune Rider with the Electro Priest in. You can also have a 5-man unit in there.
Yeah.
It gets out of this Dune Rider, does a load of shooting, and then can just blank off his mortals. Because the fact of this is just in the shooting phase, not at the start, not at the end. You can do it whenever you want. Means you can see how much damage you do and go, okay,
I need this now.
Or if there's a lot of units around you anyway, because like something like a World Eater's army's pushed into you. You have this one unit that just jumps out and goes, do loads of mortals. But I also like how you could use this on any unit.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely has play. It does seem like the Mechanicus have access to a lot of mortal wounds, which is nice.
Which is really nice. Class A players are probably really
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think overall this attachment I have the exact same feeling about this attachment I did the Skitarii one.
Yeah.
You're not benefiting enough units, so
sure,
and even less in this one because there's very limiting, and naturally you'll be taking a lot of Skitarii because you'll need to fill out your points. You want your mission playing pieces, and then when you look at it you go, okay, well I've got so much Skitarii now, have I actually put enough points into the Cult Mechanicus side to really make it efficient?
Sure.
But overall I still think it's cool. I think it's an alright detachment and I definitely could see it be used.
Okay, Jake, so what's the 4th detachment?
So this detachment is actually my favourite detachment.
Okay.
So this is the Explorator Maniple.
Yep.
So this is a really cool detachment. Now this is, again, one of the 2 detachments that actually benefits all Adeptus Mechanicus units. So the first was the Rad Zone Cohort. This is the second one.
Nice.
This is one of the reasons I love it. The second reason I love it is actually because of the detachment rule, which is acquisition at any cost.
Okay.
So start of your command phase, you select one objective. Until the start of your next command phase, this is considered your acquisitioned objective marker.
Sure.
This is the one you need to go get.
Right, okay,
well, maybe not go get. We'll see why.
Yeah.
And then if you start doing an attack on it, and you're in range of the objective marker, or an enemy unit is in range of that objective marker that you're targeting, you can reroll 1s to wound. And we've seen reroll wounds in the game. There's loads of reroll hits, but not many reroll wounds.
Yeah.
And that's maybe where sometimes the Adeptus Mechanicus can struggle, is the wounding step.
Yeah.
So having that's really nice. But the other thing is that this objective marker is actually the linchpin of the whole detachment.
Right.
And I just really like that aspect, that you have a piece that this one detachment rule then builds around the whole of the army.
Yeah.
Which for a lot of people it may seem that it's not that great, but for me it really actually builds into that play style, and also what we teach here at Vanguard Tactics of having your sort of sabotage, your definite hold, your bait, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think just being able to interact with the board with your detachment rule is really good anyway. It's quite a fun play style anyway, isn't it?
That's
and the
great.
fact you get to pick it every command phase, right?
Yeah.
So you go, okay, this turn I need this objective.
Yeah.
Or this turn I need this objective. So I'm gonna literally push towards it.
Yeah.
I really like it. Cool. Best enhancement.
So this is the thing. Unlike the data SARM, I actually love all of these enhancements.
Okay, if you had to pick one.
It's probably the generator.
Yeah.
So this is while the bearer is leading a unit and they're in range, and you're in range of the acquisition objective marker, you get 4+ vulnerable save.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is just great.
Yeah.
And I think is just a very worthwhile enhancement.
Yeah, just giving you guys a 4 pinball is fantastic.
Yeah, there are other good enhancements like the Magos I will give a little shout out to, which is if you're in range of your acquisition objective marker at the end of your command phase, you roll a dice on a 4+, you get an extra command point.
Oh, perfect.
Which is just great.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love these for that.
Yeah.
So I think those are my two best, but the generator for me, it just makes it makes a very, very tanky unit. Like you put Tech Priest Dominus in a unit of breaches. It gives them a 5 feel no pain. Now they have a 4 invulnerable save. Their toughness 7. They're just, you're not shifting those.
No, it's so difficult to move that. Yeah.
And something I will actually note about the enhancements is that only Tech Priests can take them.
Okay, so your Manipulus,
your Dominus, and your Engine Seer.
Perfect.
But none of the other
characters.
And then in terms of stratagem, probably my favourite stratagem is Info Slave Skull. So this is 1 CP and it's really simple. Your command phase, you pick a Tech Priest and you pick another objective marker within 24 inches that isn't your acquisition objective marker. And that objective marker counts as being an acquisition objective marker.
Right.
This is probably a stratagem you may see every turn.
I think you need to.
Depending
if you need the objective, right?
It just means you double down. It means you can go, especially if we looked at that generator enhancement, that enhancement involves you being on the objective.
Yeah, sure.
So it then means you could go, okay, there's lots of enemy units on the middle objective. I'll pick that middle one as my reroll ones, and then I'll use this stratagem to pick my home field so I still have my defense, or you could do it the other way.
Yeah, sure. I think it's definitely, you're playing into the advantage of the detachment rule.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of benefits from it. So, mate, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic detachment. It's my personal favourite. It doesn't mean it's the strongest, but it's my personal
I think it's going to be, you're going to see it competitively. Okay, so we've got one last detachment.
Yeah.
What is it?
So this is the Cohort Cybernetica. Elliot, my friend, you loved your robots back in the day.
Yeah.
This one's for you, mate. Because this is all about robots. It's all about Legio Cybernetica, which is Castellan robots.
Nice.
So what this does is it gives all Legio Cybernetica units from your army the Doctrina Imperative army rule.
Okay.
So, spoiler alert, they don't normally have that rule.
Sure.
So now it makes them have the Protector Imperative or the Conqueror Imperative.
Fantastic.
Which is super good on this sort of profile. That is as simple as that. Now, we look at it, I do say look at it from the same point of view, it's not benefiting a big amount of your army.
Well, it's benefiting one unit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But when we look at the enhancements and the stratagems, this is different to the other detachments.
Because they actually have...
It actually benefits your vehicles and can benefit this unit. And this unit can be a very sort of linchpin unit in this detachment.
Okay, well, tell me the best enhancement then.
So the best enhancement for me is Lords of Machines.
Right.
So this is once per turn at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you select one enemy vehicle unit within 12 inches and visible.
Yep.
And they have to take a battle shock check.
Cool.
If they pass the battle shock check, they're -1 to hit. If they fail it, they can't shoot.
So there's a double whammy there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're gonna get some debuff no matter what, which is good.
Yeah. Which is great. And that's why I like the enhancement, is that it's doing something no matter what. You're not take a battle shock check, and if you fail it, you're -1 to hit.
Well, that's what we want to see from these enhancements. You don't want to be in a situation where you're paying points for something and you get no benefit, on a chance or something.
And also, like, it's quite clutch. Like, if you fail that battle shock with like a big knight, let's say, or you know, a unit that's the only unit that could shoot something, you go no. And especially at the moment where we are seeing a bit more vehicle-heavy armies, having an enhancement like that can be really good. The other one I do like is Emotionless Clarity.
Sure.
You can just auto deadly demise a vehicle within 12.
Oh, right. So he's got a kill switch on all the vehicles.
Which is quite fun.
Nice.
Like, that's just more quite fun, and it's because Steve, I can imagine if he was here, would be twitching in his grave.
Yeah.
If he
I can already
and his
see
bed,
it.
he's like waking up in his cold sweats.
Yeah.
A lot of Emotionless Clarity.
Yeah.
For an Emotionless Clarity type of guy.
And confidence.
So my favourite stratagem. Now, again, I also am going to say a lot of these stratagems are all really good. Okay, but my favourite one is auto inventory targeting. So you pick one Legio Cybernetica unit from your army and one Adeptus Mechanicus vehicle unit. And you pick an objective marker.
Okay.
And while you target a unit on that objective marker with this unit, you change their Ballistical characteristic to 3+, and you gain ignores cover.
Okay, that's quite big.
Now, the reason this is really good is because normally robots and stuff hit on 4s. You then can enter the Heavy Doctriner, the Protector Imperative. So if you stand still, you're now hitting on 2s. If you have Belisarius Call near you get reroll 1s to hit. And you get ignores cover. It's quite a stack. And the other thing as well is our Cybernetica Data Smith, who can join the Catalan robots. He gives them, he can potentially give them +2 shots.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
You get 10 shots with the weapons. You know, for me, I would go with the fist and the gun.
Yeah, so you've got a dual purpose on the unit. Right?
So then, you can do it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. 1 CP as well.
Well, changing your characteristic is always great in a positive direction because it means that you have the ability then to get +1 to hit and get better than like just that +1 modifier.
Which is great. So I think overall this attachment, I really like it. I have a really soft spot for it. Because I just more fond memories of me and my friend Elliot playing 40k with his laser robots. I now want to run 8 Catalan robots in his honour.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see. But it's overall, I think all the detachments I do think have had. But they're nice.
I think they're really good. I think what's nice about the detachments is that none of them feel too overwhelming.
No.
But none of them feel really bad.
No.
And if you do want to go into a build of like that Cult Mechanicus type build, you can. If you want to go more Skitarii build, you can. If you want to go with 8 Catalan robots or 12 Catalan robots, you can. But equally, if you want a mix of everything, you can. And it's all really cool.
Just you can.
You can.
Yeah.
You mechanican.
You mechanican, exactly.
You mechanican.
But no, I think this, I've said this so many times, but I do think this is the beauty of the new Codex system where you have multiple detachments with multiple playstyles. So your army, you have so many different ways to field your army. And as you said, they've all got play. Competitively, they've all got play. So it's definitely, it's good to see. And it seems quite balanced so far.
I think it's very balanced. And which is also super nice as well to have from a new codex is that, you know, there's always been that fear of the next Eldar. But I don't think this is definitely not it.
No, no.
But I do.
But it's also not as it was in the Index where Mechanicus were struggling so much. It doesn't feel like that, does it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, well, next we're going to go into the changes from the Codex, from the Index, and we'll do that now.
And now for a word from our sponsor, C Studios. They are the experts in providing professional miniature painting services, ensuring your armies always look their best on the battlefield. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, C Studios can help bring your miniatures to life. Don't miss out on their quality craftsmanship.
Okay, Jake, so what's the first change you want to discuss?
Yeah, so the first thing I will say is about 10 different datasheet changes. Some very minor, some big. So we'll go with a minor one first.
Okay.
So Skitarii Vanguard, Skitarii Rangers, they have changed. So as per the balance data slate, they got given a 4+ armor save.
Okay, right.
On top of that as well, in the Codex, they now have a 5+ invulnerable save.
Oh,
to match the other Skitarii units.
So your standard battle line units now have a 5 invul.
Which is great. Like they're very squishy anyway, so having that, it means that anything more than AP2 is not going to affect them.
No,
so anything more than AP1 is not going to affect them.
Exactly. That's really good. I like that.
So the next change is actually to the Onager Dunecrawler.
This thing?
Yeah, so this now gives out an aura.
Oh, okay.
So if you are wholly within 6 inches of it with a battle line unit.
Wholly?
Yes, wholly.
Oh, okay.
You get a 4+ invulnerable save.
Sure.
Now, battle line again is Rangers and Skitarii, but still fantastic little rule.
Yeah.
Really nice change. Other than that, still the exact same size as 4-up involved. Still a very good value
Yep.
for money unit. Another unit that's really good value for money now is the Corpus Scarpi Electro Priests.
Oh, okay.
So before they had the exact same rule as the Fulgrim Electro Priest, which is while a character is in their unit, they're -1 to be wounded.
Right, sure.
Their new rule is now what we deem the Basilisk effect. So
Okay.
after they've shot and resolved their shots, you can pick one unit that they hit, and that unit now has -2 move, -2 advance, -2 charge.
That's quite big.
That's a massive change.
Yeah.
And this rule actually used to be on the sterilizers.
Okay.
But they've got a new rule as well, which I'll go into. But their rule used to be on a 4-up, it happens.
But
if
these guys just do
he
it
just
on
does
hits.
it. Yeah, which is
Fantastic.
Great. And I think this unit will be seen. You will take, in my opinion, you'll take 3 minimum units of these at least in every
Yeah,
race, because you want that effect, because they are really good.
Well, when you're looking at your entire army being a shooting army predominantly, right?
Yeah.
Being able to just reduce, we've seen it with guards, being able to reduce other armies' movements and stuff, it allows you to have extra turns of shooting potentially. So, yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
With that in mind, though, the sterilizers, they now have a new rule, which is they get reroll 1s to wound inbuilt. But if they're targeting a unit on an objective, they can reroll all their wounds.
So this is the Deep Strike Flamer unit.
Yeah, so this is, exactly sterilizers, the flamers. They can reroll 1s to wound normally, and then if they're targeting a unit on an objective, they can reroll all their wounds.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Really good rule. Yeah, so you're probably going to be seeing these in every list as well, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, predictions, but yeah.
I think you would anyway, because they're a really cheap, good mission unit. But now on top of that, they provide a whole heap of damage.
Yeah.
Really good Overwatch as well.
Yeah, love it, mate.
Next, we're going to talk about the Scorpius Dune Rider.
Okay.
So this previously allowed you to advance the vehicle and get out.
Okay.
This doesn't do that anymore. Instead, it has the fire support rule, which, if you're familiar with things like Leagues of Votann, Land Fortresses, and Eldar Falcons, you'll know how this rule works. But if you don't, so what this rule does is that once the vehicle has shot, it can pick a unit that it targeted and hit, and any unit that got out of your vehicle can now reroll wounds versus that target.
Right, okay.
So this also just adds a bit more value to our Corpus Scarpi Electro Priests, who can pump out tons of shots, but don't have the best strength in the world. Now you could go, well, I'll shoot my little heavy stubber array at something. I can now reroll all my wounds.
Right.
Absolutely fantastic. Really solid rule there. Much better. I was already sort of using the Dune Riders, so it's really nice to see they have an even better rule now, and it may incentivise how I play with them a bit different.
Yeah, definitely. Love it, mate.
Yeah, so that's really good. Next, we've got the current infiltrators. So they've kept their rule of reducing your leadership,
Okay.
but now in addition, they make you take a battle shock check at the start of the fight phase to any units they're in engagement range with.
Right, okay. So they're giving you -1,
Yeah.
and you got to take the battle shot.
Yeah. Well, it's -1.
Yeah.
If they're within 6 of a battle line unit, it's -2.
Right, okay.
And then they're making you take the battle shock. So, which could be really useful because their AP's not great, so you don't want them to, have -1 to be wounded or anything like that.
Could swing an objective for you. Like, say if you've got capture enemy outpost or something, they can go onto the objective and go, right, now you've got to take a battle shock at -1. And it's quite easy to fail that, because most of the time people are on 7-up, 6-up, and -1 to that is quite detrimental.
Well, you could even go -2 if there is a...
Potentially, exactly, yeah.
So that's really good. And the next one is the Take Priest Engine Seer.
Okay.
So his old rule used to be he would pick a unit within 3 and give it a 4+ vulnerable save.
Okay.
He now gives them a 5+ Feel No Pain.
That's huge.
Yes.
Because there's quite a few ways in this codex to give your units 4-up involves anyway.
Yeah.
So seeing the change to Feel No Pains as well, which is arguably the best defensive ability, that or damage reduction.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's really good. Then we've got probably one of the more bigger changes, which is the Siconian Dragoons.
Yeah.
So they've actually split into 2 data sheets.
Oh, okay.
So you've got Siconian Dragoons with Taser Lances,
Yeah.
and you've got Siconian Dragoons with Radium Jezzails,
Yeah.
which are the snipers. So before, the problem with taking the Radium Jezzails was that you never really got any benefit from it. Because, well, simply because retreating and charging is not something
it's not something you want to do with shooting attacks, is it?
Whereas now you've got, so the Taser ones have kept their rules, they can fall back and charge and do all of that. The Radium Jezzail ones now, at the start of the battle, they select one unit in your opponent's army, and until the end of the battle, each time they declare that unit as a target, they can reroll the hit roll. And they are also now because they are different data sheets, they now are naturally pointed differently, which is great.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Which is super solid.
Good balancing effect there, isn't it?
Yeah, which I like. And I actually think they can be a really nice little shooting unit as well,
Definitely.
which is great.
So that's all the changes, isn't it?
There's one last change,
okay,
and it's really, really, really minute, but I thought I would mention it, is it actually to the Cybernetica Datasmith.
Okay, sure.
So previously, when he joined the Castellan robots, he would be a bit of a detriment to them because he was infantry.
Yeah.
So naturally, things like anti-infantry weapons would affect the unit.
Okay.
It now specifically states on him if he must join a Castellan robot unit.
Yeah.
And when he does so, he loses the infantry keyword.
Right. Okay. So that's really big for that unit then.
Yeah. So no more anti-infantry on the robots.
Okay. Perfect.
I think again, like we've already said, I love them so much. It's great to see.
Yeah, definitely. I like it, mate. Awesome. So, what's your overall opinion of the Codex?
I really like it. I was really, really hyped to play Admech in the Index.
Are we going to see you playing them now?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I said this before when we were talking about the indexes, and you everybody near here, how excited I was. And sadly, I got a bit put off by naturally negativity. If you're looking at all the negativity, trying to find stuff, you naturally will be put off by something.
Yeah.
When they got their balanced data state change, I was really hyped on them anyway, but I was really enjoying other armies.
Yeah.
But now seeing the codex for this army, seeing the sort of changes they have, the different play styles they have, the different sort of like rules on their units, I think overall it's just super positive, and I'm just can't wait to get sort of diving in and get playing with them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for running through the codex with me. I'm glad you're excited to play the army again. And obviously, guys back home, I hope you're excited. Let us know in the comments what you're most excited about for this codex. Are you happy with the changes? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the video very soon.